Hello, so we're back. We're gonna start working on the rotation for the 100-sided dice and maybe make some adaptations to the code so that way this can be a little bit easier, more effective. So I'm gonna start off with the 10 spot on the rotation of the dice. So let's look at what we got here. Um, so not in the UI, but once we go to the button press, we duplicate and transform, and then after that we generate a random roll. Let's just double check that we have the percentile associated with that. Random roll. Oh, that's because this is the actual function. There we go. And I want to make sure that we're getting a random number between 1 and 100. Yes, we are. That is great. And then rotate dice is the next function where we have the dice type and the rand roll. So we have the rotate dice, and then we have all of these. It'd probably be a little bit better to separate this into some more functions, but we will actually do that with the D10 right now. So here, I am going to cut all that out and say rotate D10. D10 is going to be the function, and it needs whatever the die roll is going to be, which is a variable that we're already using in this function to be able to get it. So that is great. And we can define that function, rotate D10, and we need a die roll for that function. And then inside of here, we are just going to paste all that information. And this over here, because it's not lining up correctly, I'm just going to select it all and Shift Tab, which should line it back up for us. So let's test this and make sure that it is running. So I'm going to do the D10 since that's what we changed. And 7, 7, 3, 7, 6, 6, 2, cool. So it is giving us different numbers and they're all lining up correctly. Eventually, it'd be nice to get all of the functions separated like that, but right now the important one for us to do is the D10. Then over here, I can also do if dice type is equal to percentile, then we will say do rotate percentile. And in here, we need die roll. So that will make it so that we can create our own function for the rotating of the percentile dice. Rotate percentile and die roll. And then here is where we can start adjusting it. I'm going to start off with doing the tens place, since we already have the tens die here, and we can actually use that same function. So we can say if die roll is equal to 1, then what do we want to do? We want to adjust the rotate d10 with a value of 1. So that is the simple part of it, but what we can do with this statement here is actually add more conditions. And that will be helpful for us because there's many more conditions where we want to rotate the d10 into this one position. So what we can say is, or then we can take this condition and paste it there and say 11. So I'm just going to copy this so that I get the or. And this could be 21. 31. Oops, not 301, but 31. 41. 51. 61. 71. 81. 91. Actually, I don't need to do that last one. Cool. So in all of these conditions, we'll run this function and get the dice roll that we need. So if the last number in our dice roll is a 1, then we should be able to get this and rotate 1. So that's good. Let's copy this and make sure that it's working. I'm going to do the percentile, and let's just do 20 of them so that hopefully one of these, okay, last one. What was the issue? $348. So let's check that. 348. So this is this. And let's see what happened the last 10 items. Let me pause this. Okay, so basically what is happening with this is if we roll it and I was doing a test. Let me copy all of this and bring it back and run this. Okay, so if we go to percentile and just give it enough so that it can crash, it's saying that it's not getting enough data and that it is stopping. So basically what is happening here is that We have a D10 that we're setting attributes for, but you can see that the D10 is actually being duplicated over and over and over again. So when we grouped it, it caused an issue because we have multiple of the same dice being rolled, and it doesn't know which one of these dice we want to affect. So if we are actually to do percentile and just do one at a time, you'll see that even if when we get to one that has a 1 at the end, there you go. It rotated to 1 and it's fine because there's only 1 in the scene. But as soon as we put in more into the scene, it doesn't know which one to rotate because there are so many that are already in the scene. So we have to figure out a way to get around that. Right now, the way I'm thinking of it is maybe not having this group that we have here. So let's go find this, that group, the percentile group that we have created. Not group it at all. So we are going to deal with each dice separately. So now we can deal with the D100 and the D10 individually like this. So this is going to be the starting position. And then when we go here, I'm going to say D10. And we are going to duplicate the D100. 100. There we go. So we're duplicating both of these. And then we're going to have an additional set of numbers here as well. So one of them is going to be for the D10, and the other one is going to be for the D100. So now that I copy and pasted those values there on the D100, because if we look at the D100 here, we subtracted 20 on the X. So we're going to want to do that as well. So minus 20. So let's make sure that works now. So it doesn't really need to be grouped, but it's kind of nice because then we can move them together, but then we get the issue with the naming. So let's take a look at this and see if we can paste this here and make sure that the duplicating for the percentile, let's see if it brings it in fine. And if we have 10 of them, does it look correct? It does look correct. And if we have multiple rows, is the spacing correct? Yes, it is. Perfect. So now that we have that fixed, let's look at the code that we have for the rotation. So it's rotating it now without giving us errors. And we can write it all out the way we have it here, where it is kind of a lot to write out. But there's actually another thing that we can do. And we can divide it and find a remainder of a number. So if die roll and so if we divide it by 10 and the remainder, that's what this symbol does. It gives us the remainder value. So if we take this die roll, get the remainder of it when we divide it by 10, and it is equal to 2, for example, so that would be the next value, then we can do this rotate function for the d10. So that's a much simpler way to do this rather than doing each individual number like that. But let's replace this and say 1. And that is 3. So we need to make sure that we do tell the correct number in the function here. So this is going to be 4. Oh, and I'm using a single equal sign here. It should actually be 2 equal sign because we're doing a comparison here. So glad I caught that beforehand. 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 5, then we go 6, 7, 8, 9, and in this case, I'm just going to say 0 instead of 10 because I want to see if there's no remainder. That means it's divisible by 0, and we should end up with a 0 at the end. So I'm going to copy all of this. And let's run it. Make sure that it runs correctly. And let's start off with just 1 die so that we can check it. So 25, cool. The last number is a 5. 7, 5, 2, 9, 3, 9, 1. So it looks like it's all working correctly. And this has basically given us the ability to get the 10 side rotated correctly. In the next video, we're going to look at how we can do the 100 side and get that all oriented correctly. All right, see you in the next video.